Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Once again, it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and get this started. All right, first question. I only eat during a 5-hour window every day. When would you suggest I train? During the window after or before? The 5-hour window is flexible. I'm doing the novice 5x5 2.0. Thanks. All right, guys, this is one of those where I know there's a lot of trends out there, and I know there's a lot of people who utilize intermittent fasting. I have personal friends who very successfully utilize intermittent fasting. However, it doesn't work for a lot of people, number one. Number two, you need to understand that intermittent fasting is beneficial for weight management, caloric management, and fat loss. My novice programs are very, very high hypertrophy programs. And people need to understand that. You don't want to, if you're going to cut rapidly, the only reason you would ever have a 5-hour feed window is because you were trying to have pretty rapid weight loss. Someone who's trying to lose fat slowly would not do such a thing. They wouldn't do the one meal a day. They wouldn't do a 4-hour, 5-hour, whatever feed window. They would never do that. So when you look at it from that perspective, that is for rapid fat loss only. And it works for some people. But you are absolutely not creating an anabolic environment that can facilitate muscle growth. In fact, I'll go so far as to say if you're a novice lifter, unless you are morbidly obese, you are not going to gain muscle using that sort of protocol. So if you're not going to be able to gain muscle, how are you going to run a rapid progression linear novice program? You can't. You can't, because these are programs that require you to add weight to the bar every time you go to the gym. Well, if you're in such a large caloric deficit with, again, such a small eating window and very minimal protein synthesis uptime from your food, you're not creating the environment in your body necessary to facilitate muscle growth or recovery or anything else. How in the world are you going to run a program like that? You can't. People have to learn how to get their goals balanced. Things like recomposition are very hard. I mean, I'm someone who's been recomping successfully. People have noticed, and a lot of people, very, very serious lifters, have commented under their real names and stuff, and some of my stuff saying, hey, my recomp's actually been pretty noticeable at this point. All right, that requires very, very specific things in my life. My lifestyle has to be very perfectly geared towards doing that as an advanced lifter. And I'm going to tell you right now, recomposition on a 5-hour feed window, I wouldn't even try to undertake that. Right? That's ridiculous, ludicrous. It's not going to work. That's for fat loss. And it can work for a lot of people. Running a setup like that can result in very, very good caloric management and going to bed full and everything else. And if that works for you, then by all means, do what you got to do to lose weight. But you're not going to gain muscle doing that. You're not. So you have no business running a very hard progression linear program when you're in a nutritional environment that is not going to allow you to gain muscle. It doesn't make sense at all. All right, next question. Jason, vaping flavored liquids got banned in Michigan. Lots of gymrats vape. To your knowledge, is there any significant health risk to vaping? I'm looking at several studies and most seem inconclusive at best, while others show some possible side effects that were quite a bit over my level of understanding. Either way, the media and social media are spreading misleading or false information on both sides of the issue as per the norm. I was just hoping for your take on it. Does it have a possible impact on health? And that's the main theme of your channel. Thanks. All right, brother, let's just be realistic here. I don't like the fact that government is coming in and restricting this stuff, mainly because I generally believe in freedom. Okay, a lot of things that people do that I morally and personally disagree with, that I still think that you should have the right to choose as an individual. Okay? We need to be realistic about it. I mean, I'll go so far as to say that I think prohibition on marijuana is ridiculous. I will also say I don't like it. I don't want it around me. I don't like the smell of it. I don't want to hang out with smokers. Right? But you should have a right to do it. Okay? I think you should have a legal right to do it. I don't think you should go to jail for it. Because just because I don't like it doesn't mean it should be illegal for you. Let's come over to vaping. Same thing. It's bad for your health. Anyone who thinks that you can smoke anything And that comes back to the weed thing too. Anyone who is so delusional that they think that it's healthy to smoke any substance and put ash and dust and everything else in your lungs, anyone who thinks that there's any possibility that that's remotely healthy, really and truly is a moron. They really are. Okay? That is the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. Every study that's ever looked at anything involving smoking, there is no substance you can smoke, whether it's vaping, whether you smoke your weed through a bong, whatever, that is not going to cause harm to your lungs and your health. Okay, it can't be done. Some are better or worse than others. But it is harmful to your health. You've got to be realistic about it. But media tends to jump in and they get ridiculous and everything else. Now, realistically, if any of these people who are making a big deal about this vaping or anything else, if they really cared about your health, they would ban cigarettes. Right? Because let's look at the various evils there. I think we can make a pretty strong case that straight up smoking tobacco is more harmful to your health than marijuana, than vaping, than any of this stuff. Particularly because a lot of guys who do weed, they actually do a better filtration process than people who smoke tobacco. I mean, realistically, between their bongs and volcanoes and everything else that they use, it probably is less harsh. I mean, realistically speaking. Same thing with vaping. It's less harsh on your lungs than smoking. But it's still harmful for you, and it's still going to kill you young. You're going to die young as a result of doing it, most likely. You're shortening your life. You're harming your health if you choose to do that. But let's come back over to the point. It gets annoying when you see people who want to outlaw everything because it might be bad for your health. Right? Educate people. Let people make their own personal choices. Right? That's my only issue with this stuff, is when it gets pushed as being healthy. Oh, weed is healthy. No, you're a moron if you think that. You really are. You really are. But we shouldn't be using the fact that it can have some health negatives to say, well, no one should have a right to do it. Because if we use that logic, fast food would be outlawed. Table sugar would be outlawed. Sodas would be outlawed. All the stuff that people want would be outlawed. And I don't think that has a place in a free country. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Educate and let people make their own choices if you're a grown adult. All right, next question. Would you recommend alternating deadlift with power cleans in your novice program? I have 4 novice programs, so I'm not sure which one you're talking about. We'll assume the 2.0 maybe. No, I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you do that at all. And I'm not saying power cleans are bad exercise. I understand they're in starting strength. I understand why they're in starting strength. I understand why Ripto has people do them. However, I don't think it's essential to do these sort of explosive movements for someone who's a novice lifter. They might benefit from it if they want some sport-specific stuff, but that's going to be more in a coached environment. And if I was coaching an athlete who was a novice for sports, I would put them right into dynamic work as quickly as I could. Okay, let's come over to the point. What's the reason everybody does cleans and snatches and stuff in sports and strength and conditioning? Rate of force production. Rate of force production. They have a steep learning curve. They're hard to learn. Therefore, there's going to be certain risks of injury and everything else associated with them. Speed box squats and speed pulls do everything that power cleans and snatches do better. I want to state that again. Speed pulls and speed box squats do everything that these Olympic lifts intend to do better. They're easier to learn. You can fine-tune them better. They make for better explosive training. Look at the stuff that you guys see me do. Look at my dynamic effort lower day and think about that in terms of field athletes. Right? People who need explosiveness. Speed squats with bands and chains off of a box. Look at the data on rate of force production on box squats. Speed pulls against bands with the sumo pull. So you get that wide stance for a reason. Carries over to certain things in sports. Box jumps, plyometric work. Now you look at all that, then you look at what the most cutting edge, best coaches out there who are getting people NFL scholarships and stuff have them do. I don't know, Joe DeFranco, Matt Winning, all these guys. Look at what they have their guys doing. They're doing the same stuff. They're doing the same stuff. In this era, using the power clean for those purposes is kind of dead. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying we've learned that we have better tools available. Speed boxes, speed pulls, plyometrics. If you need power and explosiveness to your whole body, in particular starting with the legs, those are your tools. All right, those are your tools, and they will carry you very, very far. You don't need power cleans. And I'm not saying power cleans are bad. I'm not saying they can't be useful in certain phases of your training. I'm not saying you should never do them. But be realistic here. And as far as a novice lifter goes, deadlifts and rows are just fine. Deadlifts and rows will get you what you need to get you started till you're a little bit more advanced. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.